Hey everybody, look at this guy. Quite the iconic character, right? I think. Anyways, you all know Captain Falcon. You all love him. But did you know he's the only character in Smash Ultimate to have two different battle entrance animations? It changes depending on what way he's facing. If he's facing left, he will do a front flip out of the blue Falcon. And if he's facing right, then he will simply hop out of it. You know, every character of course has a battle entrance, and there are currently like 80 characters in this game. So good on you, Falcon, for having an attribute to yours that's completely unique. Aside from that, there are 4 other characters that have something special about their battle entrances, though they only have one animation. The egg Yoshi appears from actually changes color depending on what alternate color he's using. It's likely just the same model Yoshi uses when shielding anyways, so it makes sense. Similarly, the faded LCD frames in Mr. Game & Watch's entrance match the color of his alts too. And Mega Man's beam of light he appears from also changes depending on what alt he's using. And lastly, Little Mac normally comes running in wearing his hoodie while punching the air, and then he throws it off. But if he's using the alt where he's actually wearing his hoodie, he does the exact same animation, including him throwing his jacket up in the air, without actually doing it. That's kinda boring and seems like a small oversight they didn't care enough about to fix. But it's whatever. Side note, with his 7th alternate costume specifically, where he's wireframe and not wearing his green hoodie, he comes running in wearing his green hoodie, but right as he throws it off, it turns into the pink one. That is definitely an oversight, I think. I asked my friend who mods Smash and is able to view the game's models about this, and here's what we were able to find out. This may come as a shock, but there's 2 separate models used for the hoodie Little Mac throws in the air. They're exactly identical aside from the fact that the texture on one of them is a little darker. This right one here is used by alts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, which is the wireframe one. This would explain why he throws a pink hoodie in the air with his wireframe alt, even though he comes running in with a green hoodie. The left one here is used by alts 6 and 8, which is surprising considering they don't throw a hoodie up in the air at all. Our guess is that Little Mac throws a hoodie up in these alts, but they're scaled to size 0 in-game, so that you can't see them at all. Similar to how a character's upper body parts are scaled down when grabbed by Villager to avoid their bodies clipping through the net. So yes, this means that this model practically goes completely unused in game, even though it is used technically. You just can't see it. Even weirder is that there seems to be an unused low quality pink texture in the game, which would be applied to the hoodie model alt 6 and 8 throw up in the air. But again, it doesn't show up, so there's no point to it. Think about that. They made 2 textures for a model that doesn't show up in game, but they didn't make a green texture for the model that does show up in game, and just let the hoodie change color like this in the final build. Better yet, why do alt 6 and 8 even do the throwing animation if they're not throwing anything? Captain Falcon gets to have 2 separate battle animations depending on what way he's facing, but they didn't make a separate animation where Little Mac just runs in on screen without doing the throwing animation. And here's the most shocking part to me. In Smash 4, Little Mac does throw a green hoodie in the air with his wireframe alts, so they removed that in Ultimate, probably unknowingly, I am assuming. So they could have probably just ported that over, but even if they couldn't for some reason, I asked my friend who I mentioned earlier if he could make a green version of the hoodie model that gets thrown, and it only took him like 5 minutes. It's definitely weird why they didn't do all this. I'm not a game designer. This is already the 5th episode, so by now you should know how this works. Unless this is the first useless Smash facts you're watching, in which case, hey, you already got 4 more episodes to watch after this if you like it. Back to the facts. Since we were already talking about Little Mac and his alternate costumes, did you know that the sound of his straight lunge charging up changes if he's using the wireframe alt? This is clearly a reference to the arcade Punch-Out, which the alt comes from. Very old school sound effect. Hey, look at that, Little Mac had green hair in this game. In Smash he doesn't have green hair, but he does have a green glow effect to the hair, which doesn't show up on the render. Little Mac also doesn't have a shadow in this alt. At all. Not even on his clothes. I don't know why they went with that, maybe to emphasize that in older games it was harder to render shadows, maybe? Lastly, he also doesn't have a voice in his wireframe alts, which is a lot more understandable. It's normal for characters to have alts where their voice changes, such as with those that change your gender.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare yourself.
Or your age. Or in Little Mac's case, both? seriously, what are you? But just like with Little Mac, it's rare for sound effects to change. Here are some of the more interesting ones I was able to find. With Ike, outside of his voice changing, some sound effects of him moving around change as well to account for his Radiant Dawn outfit having more loose parts and such. You can hear it best with him walking and landing. The exact same thing happens with Cloud and his Advent Children costume, also since it has more loose parts. Piranha Plant has different running and walking sound effects depending on if he's in a pot or a pipe, but strangely no different landing sound effects. Joker's jumping sound effect is a little bit different when he's not wearing his trench coat. And when I say a little bit, I mean it. It's extremely subtle and hard to hear. Take a listen. The sound effect is a little bit longer in his normal costume. Can you hear it? That is such a small detail that I never even knew about until now. Stuff like this really makes me appreciate all the developers of this game for trying to make it as immersive as possible by making these extremely hard to notice little details. And thus also giving me more fun facts to tell you guys about. And finally, let's talk about Hero. I wanted to talk about this in the last Useless Smash Facts, but that video was already super long. Did you know that the sound effect for landing a critical hit with a smash attack changes depending on which hero costume you're playing as? The sound effect is ripped straight from each hero's respective Dragon Quest game. So 11's sound effect comes from Dragon Quest XI, Arasu's sound effect comes from Dragon Quest III, Solo's comes from Dragon Quest IV, which is the exact same sound effect as the one in 3, so Arasu and Solo actually have the same sound effect. And lastly, 8's sound effect comes from Dragon Quest VIII. This is however not the case if the character you're landing a critical hit on is another hero, in which case it will play the critical hit sound effect of the hero receiving the hit. This even rings true if you're hitting multiple heroes with the same smash attack, or it will also play each hero's respective critical hit sound. And lastly, when you start charging a smash attack as hero, it plays the sound effect from Dragon Quest XI when you use an ability. This is, however, the same sound effect across all heroes, unlike with their critical hit sounds. Well, let's stop talking about all these sound effect facts for a bit, and move on to something else. Dark Samus, Ganondorf, Sheik, Dr. Mario, Greninja, Incineroar, Roy, Jigglypuff, Piranha Plant, Duck Hunt Duo, Palutena, Mr. Game & Watch, Pikachu, Ridley, Pichu, Zelda, Lucario, Mewtwo, Wii Fit Trainer, and the 3 Mii Fighters are the only characters that made their playable debut in a Smash game. Every character I didn't just mention was playable in a game before the Smash game they were a newcomer in released. All those characters are scrolling on screen now with a game they were playable in before they debuted as a Smash character. Not necessarily the first game they were ever playable in, just an example of a game they were playable in before the Smash game they were a newcomer in came out. Let's go over the ones that may have caused some confusion and explain them. First, we gotta define what playable really is. When I say playable, I mean that you are in direct control of them. If you tap left on the D-pad or control stick or whatever, and your character goes to the left, that's playing as them. However, it's not that simple. For instance, take all the Pokemon I mentioned, there's a lot of them. In every mainline Pokemon game, you play as a trainer, and when you get into battle, you throw your Pokemon into battle, and at that point you can choose whatever action your Pokemon does. So would you say this counts as playable? No. You command them as their trainer what to do. Notice how, for example, you can also spend your turn healing or throwing a Pokeball. So that's why all the Pokemon in Smash made their playable debut in a Smash game. Well, almost all Pokemon. Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard are not on this list. They all joined Smash in Brawl, and they were playable way before then, in Pokémon Mystery Dungeon. In Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, you get a bunch of questions at the start of the game, and your answers determine what Pokemon you play as. Let's take the first Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game for this. Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle are among the characters you can get out of this quiz, and later in the game you can get evolved so you can play as Ivysaur and Charizard if you want. This game released before Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and they're the only Pokemon in Smash that were directly playable in a spin-off game before they made their playable debut as a Smash character. Now here's the tricky part. I'm not very familiar with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. The only one I've ever played was Blue Rescue Team around the time it came out, and at that time I was 6, and I could barely speak English. So I don't remember much about it outside of playing it in school on my old ass grey brick of a Nintendo DS. Anyways, back to the point. While I was doing research on which characters have been playable, I learned that you can recruit Pokemon in Mystery Dungeon games and then have them join your party. I wasn't sure if this meant you could play as them or not, because if so, Lucario for example shouldn't be on this list since Explorers of Time and Darkness came out before Brawl in Japan and you can recruit a Riolu in those games, and then of course evolve it into a Lucario and play as it. Since I was so unsure, I asked some of my friends who are more familiar with the series, and they told me that it's debatable if you can play as a recruited Pokemon or not. They said that you can put them in the leading slot but only in dungeons, at which point you tell them what to do in battles, and in the overworld you still control your Pokemon that you started with. Sound familiar? Long story short, most of them said they don't consider that playing as the recruited Pokemon. One of my friends said the closest you've been able to play as a recruited Pokemon was in the latest entry in the series, which came out after Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Which I've been showing footage from because I have no way of getting footage from the older games. Sorry about that. The only character on this list I could see someone make a legitimate argument for is Pikachu. In Pokemon Yellow, released before the original Smash Bros., there's a small minigame that you can play called Pikachu's Beach, in which you take control of Pikachu and surf the waves, dude. I can see someone counting that as directly playing as Pikachu, but this is a very small minigame within a game in which you always play as a trainer. Very similar case is with the Thundering Dynamo minigame from Pokemon Stadium, in which Pikachu plays an even smaller role than in Pikachu's Beach. Now get out of here, you Pokemon, and let me explain some of the other confusing ones here. The Mii characters are avatars to be used in a variety of games. In Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U, the Mii's joined as playable characters. It's understandable to say that you play as Mii's in stuff like Wii Sports, but in Smash you play as the Mii Brawler, Mii Sword Fighter, and Mii Gunner characters, which were all originally created for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. This is also why their icon and victory theme are based on Smash, and not the Mii channel or Wii Sports, because they are not from those games. I hope that's easy to understand. And if you don't get it, I explained it better in a different video a while back, which I will link in the description. Moving on, Dr. Mario. He's from Dr. Mario, and in that game he throws pills, and then you control said pills. You do not play as Dr. Mario in these games, he just stands there while you move pills around. If you consider this playing as the character Dr. Mario, what's wrong with you? Roy. He made his debut as a character in Fire Emblem The Binding Blade, first released in Japan on March 29, 2002. Super Smash Bros. Melee, the game Roy was first featured in, first released on November 21, 2001. This is because The Binding Blade was delayed a bit, yada yada. I'm sure you guys have all heard this story a million times by now. Since we're on the topic of Fire Emblem, why aren't non-avatar characters like Chrom and Lucina on here? Well, unlike in Pokemon, in battle you can move them around, choose their options, separate from your main characters, etc, etc. I do consider this playing as them, and most people I've talked to agree on that. So Roy is the only Fire Emblem character that made their playable debut in Smash. Mr. Game & Watch, why is he here? Look, there's someone playing as him right now on this device, released in 1980. Right? No, actually, Mr. Game & Watch is an original Smash character created as a bunch of references to the old Game & Watch series of handhelds. You actually just play as nameless characters in those games, not specifically the Mr. Game & Watch we all know and love. In some Game & Watch games you play as Mario characters, but still never as Mr. Game & Watch himself. He's in a very similar situation as the Mii's. Piranha Plant. In Super Mario Odyssey, released before Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, you can take control of a Piranha Plant. I do consider this playing as it, but that's not a Piranha Plant. That's a Fire Piranha Plant, which only spits fire. The Piranha Plant in Smash can use fire, but also poison like Poison Piranha Plants, and turn all spiky like Prickly Piranha Plants, so he's a reference to many types of Piranha Plants from the series, not unlike how Mr. Game & Watch is made. Look, they have different names: Piranha Plant, Fire Piranha Plant, and Poison Piranha Plant, because you can capture both in Super Mario Odyssey. And don't you dare tell me that's the same thing, because that's racist. They are separate species of piranha plants. The rest of the characters I haven't talked about here are pretty self-explanatory. You were just never able to play as them before their Smash debut. Now, those of you that follow me on Twitter and have been with Useless Smash Facts for a while know where this is going. And yes, this was my Twitter question for this episode. Every time I make one of these videos, I try looking for a fact that's something unique only a few characters have, and then I post an image of those characters on Twitter and see if anyone can guess what it is they have in common. And every time so far, someone was able to guess it. Last time, I swore that I would come up with a fact so big and confusing that nobody would guess it, and this is what I came up with. So, did I succeed in my plan? Did nobody guess the answer right? No. Someone by the name of Leftox Fluxington was the first person to get it, which means the score is now 5-0. And this time I'm not gonna make any promises for next time because all of you are just way too smart. Also, maybe I should have put an asterisk by Pikachu because of the Pikachu's beach situation, but I feel like that would have given away the answer, which it definitely did last time I tried that. I may also be wrong on any of the other Pokemon, considering I'm so unfamiliar with the Mystery Dungeon games, and then there are 9 million Pokemon spin-offs out there, but even so, I'm sure it wouldn't have mattered since people probably still would have gotten the answer right. I gotta say though, whenever I post one of these, I never like, respond to, or retweet any other replies as to avoid giving anything away or sending people down a wrong path. But it was really amusing seeing this person shoot down everyone that tried to disprove their answer. So shoutouts to you, Leftox. Okay, but enough about that, let's get into some more normal facts. The weights on the Mushroom Kingdom stage are actually affected by a character's weight, meaning that if two characters weigh the same, the platforms won't move if they're both standing on one. Shulk switching to Monado's Shield to become the heaviest character in the game, or Smash to become the lightest character in the game doesn't affect it, but turning metal does, such as with a metal box or hero using Kaklang. All of this also applies to the skill that can show up in one of the transformations on the PictoChat stage. Speaking of the Mario stage though, if you hit the bottom of the Super Mario Maker stage in Battlefield or Omega form, it makes a special sound effect, based on what transformation it's currently in. One of them is of course the classic Super Mario Bros. Theme, at which point it would play this sound effect. But strangely, it doesn't play that sound effect if you hit the bottom of the Mushroom Kingdom stage, even though they're the exact same blocks. You may already know that Joker's Rebellion gauge changes color depending on what color Mementos is if you're playing on that stage. But did you know it can also change color mid-match? You may have already guessed how, but it's with the power of Stage Morph. It can go from red to yellow, blue to red, yellow to yellow, you get the idea. Also, hey, apparently if the stage you're morphing to is playing the exact same song, the indicator showing what song is playing won't show up, and the song just keeps playing instead of it looping or something else. Another fact on something changing colors has to do with Kirby. When Kirby copies Yoshi, the egg he lays with his new neutral special actually matches the color of the Yoshi he got the ability from. For instance, if he gets the ability from a pink Yoshi, the eggs he will lay will also be pink. Same with blue, same with red, you get the idea. But his hat is always green. Why? This is just like what I talked about in Useless Smash Facts 3 with Inkling, where Kirby can use all ink colors Inkling can, but he always has orange hair. In that video, I proposed that Kirby's hat color should change to match the color of the ink he shoots. The same applies here. Kirby could have had different hat colors to match the egg he lays, but he doesn't. Oh, and yeah, the ugly crafted world Yoshi alt lays a green egg identical to the one the default alt lays, so there's no need to make a separate hat for that one. That reminds me, wasn't there something else I was supposed to talk about regarding Kirby today? Oh right! Did you know that Kirby is the only character in Smash history to never be unlockable? He's always been a starter character in every Smash game, and in Smash Ultimate, he's the character you start out with in World of Light, and you have to unlock every single character that's not him, meaning they've all been unlockable at some point. Speaking of World of Light and Kirby, you know how every character except Kirby got captured by Gleam, and were then used to create copies for Gleam to put spirits into? Because Kirby didn't get captured, there aren't many fights against Kirby in the first half of the campaign. Later in the campaign, he does appear in spirit fights, and Sakurai confirmed that the thought process behind this was that Kirby got analyzed at some point by Gleam, and thus he was able to make copies of Kirby. Ironically, Kirby is the fighter that appears in the most amount of spirit battles, at a whopping 56, though the majority of those only appear on the spirit board and not in World of Light. Okay fine, that's not what I wanted to talk about relating to Kirby, though you gotta admit it was pretty interesting. Last time, I said that Kirby can use a total of 85 different special moves in one match through the power of All-Star Smash. In this mode, all fighters except the Mii Fighters appear in order from oldest to youngest, and you gotta defeat them. You could theoretically copy every character's move and use them at least once to achieve this. However, after a lot of testing, I decided that this was way too difficult. So I challenged everyone to try and complete this task while recording it, and the first person to do this would win $100. I gave everyone 2 weeks to try and complete this, and after 1 week of nobody doing it, I upped the price from $100 to $250. I'll save you some time by simply saying that nobody got it, so I'm officially declaring this challenge as basically impossible. I still wanted to show you guys Kirby performing all 85 special moves he can use in the same match, and because I suck too much to do it myself, I asked my friend Mr. Danish Buttercookie to do it for me. You see, he's like really good at Smash Bros, and also capable of modding Smash, so that's why I asked him specifically. This task was still pretty difficult for him, so he asked Fishera to help him out as well. This is because Fishera is also a very nice fella, by which I mean he's also capable of modding Smash, so he was a perfect fit for the job. Jokes aside though, Fishera made a mod which made Kirby completely invincible, which should make completing the challenge a lot easier, since you can't really die. However, anytime Danish got a little into it, the game crashed. We have no idea what caused it, but we tried a lot of different things to fix it, but the crashing stayed consistent. I still have to give it up for Fishera for making the mod, and Danish for attempting to complete the challenge with the mod multiple times. Even though it didn't end up working out, you two are the GOAT. That being said though, even with mods, this challenge is, for now, still basically impossible. Also, side note, in my previous video I said that I count every special move separate if they all have a separate name. For example, I said that Hero has 3 different neutral specials, since officially it has 3 names. People pointed out to me that I should have counted Ryu's Shakunetsu Hadoken as a separate special move, since it also has its own name. I did think of that while making the video, but in the end I decided against it, mainly because it doesn't show up in the special moves list. However, it is a special move and it does show up down here, so I don't really know why I didn't count it looking back on it. Regardless, it doesn't matter now. Ken is also able to do a second version of Hadoken where it's a bigger blast, but that one is just called Hadoken, so I wouldn't count that as a separate special move personally. Anyways, thank you all for participating in the Kirby challenge. It was a ton of fun to see people discussing strategies and whatnot in my Discord server. Even though nobody ended up winning it, it was quite the experience. And thank you all again for watching the video. This episode and last episode have been a little lighter on the amount and variety of useless Smash facts, but I kinda set myself up for that with the Kirby challenge and this huge Twitter question I did this time. Next time it'll be more like useless Smash facts 1, 2, and 3. But that's not gonna come out anytime soon because, you know, I'll be gone from the face of the earth playing Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. If you even remotely like RPGs, please give this game a try. I'm sure you'll like it. That'll be all from me today, and thanks for helping me reach 200,000 subscribers only 9 months after I hit 100,000. You guys are the bestest. Have a nice day.